ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Humble prostrations to one and all present here. So we were discussing verse number 26 of the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in the last class. We will chant that verse once again. Ashvattha sarvavrikshanam devarshinam cha naradaha gandharvanam chitrarathah siddhanam kapilo munihi. So in the last class we had seen Ashvattha sarvavrikshanam. Among all the trees, I am Ashvattha tree. This tree which is mentioned as the tree of transmigration. So in detail we had seen in the last class the next one. Devarshinam cha Naradaha. Among all the Devarshis, divine sages, I am Narada. So we have Rajarshis, we have Brahmarshis, and then we have Devarshis. The kings who are spiritual, they are called as Rajarshis. The Brahmanas who are the Rishis, they are called as Brahmarshis. And the Devatas who are the Rishis, they are called as Devarshis. So among all the Devarshis, I am Narada Rishi. Generally in all movies and serials, Narad is considered to be a character who is like a comedian, or he is considered like a person who creates fight. So therefore whenever we say he is a Narada, so it means he takes news from one place to another, and that news he takes to the other place and then make people fight. So people who make create quarrel, they are generally termed as Narada. So all this idea we have gathered by seeing movies and serials. But if you see the scriptures, Narad is considered to be a highly reverential personality. So in Bhagavatam first canto, the story of Naradji comes. He was the son of a servant maid, and great rishis used to come to his village to do Chaturmasya, 4 months of satsang. So this little boy of 5 years, who did not have father, who was staying with his mother, that mother was a low caste lady. So this mother was given the responsibility of looking after the needs of those sages. So then this boy also would join his mother. And this boy was well disciplined, obedient. He would serve these sages with great love, with affection, with humility, to such an extent that all these sages, they become very, this boy became very dear to them. And moreover, he would sit and listen to the satsang, morning, afternoon, evening. He would sit and listen to satsangs also. And whatever they would eat, the remnants he would take. So this way, so Naraji himself describes his story. He says that all the papas, the sinful tendencies in him, vasanas in him got destroyed, and he started developing devotion for God. Finally, after the Chaturmasya, all the sages, they returned to their respective places. And one day his mother was bitten by some snake, and his mother also passed away. Thus he became all alone. And then he just leaves that place, becomes like a parivrajaka, but constantly chanting the name of the Lord, remembering all the teachings which he had received from the sages. And finally, the story goes thus: he had developed so much of devotion that after his body's falling, Bhagavan himself, he had a vision of Bhagavan himself. And then he finally became Devarshi. So he was able to go from one world to another, all the 14 worlds, without any obstruction he could go. And Bhagavan blessed him with this Veena also. It's a divine Veena which could bring out divine Swaras. So, from where to where he reached because of devotion for God. He was just a son of a servant maid, born in a low caste family, but finally he became Devarshi, all because of devotion for God. So this story comes in first canto of Bhagavatam. Now the glory of Narad Rishi is, he becomes a guiding light for very many rishis, very many great devotees. For example, Valmiki Rishi, who was a dacoit, Ratnakara, he was shown the right direction by Narad Rishi. He was the one who gave him Ramanama to chant and showed him the direction. So this dacoit, Ratnakara, later on by chanting the name of the Lord, became the famous Valmiki Rishi. Again, it was Narad Rishi only who inspired Valmiki Rishi to write Ramayana, the glory of Bhagavan Sri Ramchandraji. Again, it was this Narad Rishi who inspired Vyasa Rishi to write Srimad Bhagavatam. So that story again comes in the first canto. Vyasa Rishi was very sad. In spite of compiling the Vedas, in spite of composing Mahabharata, he was not very happy. So then he was very sad. It was at that time that Narad Rishi comes and guides Vyasa Rishi, saying that, O Rishi, you have done a wonderful thing, but you have not glorified Bhagavan's name as you should have been. So therefore, compose Srimad Bhagavatam, developing devotion in the hearts of men. This is the one solution to all problems. So compose something which will create this devotion. So thus, inspired by Naradji, guided by Naradji, Vedavyasa Rishi writes Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, it is this Naradji who transformed the life of Prahlada also. So Hiranyakashipu, when he went to do tapas, Devatas attacked the world of demons, because Hiranyakashipu was not there. So Indra catches hold of Kayadhu, mother of Prahlada, wife of Hiranyakashipu, because he knew that Hiranyakashipu's son is growing in the womb of Kayadhu. So as he was going to kill this lady, Naraji interferes and says that, do you know who is growing in this womb? He is going to be a great devotee of the Lord, so therefore leave her. When Indra listens to this, he does a pradakshina of Kayadhu, bows down to her and leaves. And then Narada Rishi takes Kayadhu to his ashram, and constantly he was telling the glories of Bhagavan. Constant satsang was happening. Many times Kayadhu was sleeping, but he would continue his satsang because he knew that the child in the womb is listening to this story. So thus was born this great devotee called Prahlad. So Naraji was that person who transformed the life of Prahlad. Again, Dhruva. He wanted the lap of his father, but his stepmother interfered and said, if you want to sit on your father's lap, you have to be born as my son. So go and do tapas. So then he went to this forest. In the forest, again, it was Narada Rishi who guided Dhruva in worshipping God. He gave that mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So in 6 months, Dhruva gets the vision of Bhagavan. So again, it was Narada Rishi. So many other devotees also. When Dhritarashtra and Gandhari left the palace without informing anyone, Yudhishthira was very sad. It was at that time that Narada Rishi comes and then guides Yudhishthira in spiritual matters. So this story again comes in the first canto. Again, there is a king called Chitraketu. He did not have child for a long time. Then, because of the blessings of some sages, he got one child. But very soon, that child was poisoned and killed by his own queens. He was extremely sad. Again, Naraji comes and gives spiritual instruction to him. Then there is another king called Prachina Barhi. He was too much into Karmakanda and thinking that it is all the rituals which are going to give the ultimate. So again, Narada Rishi comes and shows him the way. So you find that in various places, Narada Rishi comes and shows the spiritual path to erring devotees, guiding them. So such is the great name of Narada Rishi in all our Puranas. He is not a comedian or a person who creates fight and all that. That is the wrong conception which somewhere we have gathered by seeing all the serials. Okay, so Devarshinam cha Naradaha. Then Gandharvanam Chitrarathaha, among Gandharvas. So this is that colony in the Swargaloka who are busy with dance and music. So among Gandharvas, I am the king of Gandharva, and his name is Chitraratha, or sometimes he is also known as Chitrasena. So the stories are famous, especially 2 stories. When Arjuna goes to Swargaloka, it is this Chitraratha or Chitrasena who teaches him dance and music, which later on becomes extremely useful for him when he was living in exile for that 1 year incognito, Ajñātavāsa. He became Brihannala, the eunuch, in that Virata's kingdom, Matsya kingdom. So there he was teaching dance and music. Also, there is another story where all these Pandavas, when they were in exile, so Duryodhana once comes along with his army. He wanted to make fun of them. He wanted to see how they were suffering in the forest. So when he came, he was trying to camp. He camped near this place. It's called as Dvaitavana, where Pandavas had camped. He came there, and there was a lake. So he wanted to swim there, and he found that there was some Gandharva who was stationed there. Actually, that Gandharva was Chitrasena. Then there was this argument. Duryodhana and his party, the army, they said that you must vacate because Duryodhana himself has come. Gandharvas refused. So there was this fight, argument, and finally there was a fight. Now these Gandharvas are extremely powerful. They have all these powers of Maya, illusory tactics. So finally, this Chitrasena catches him, ties him down, defeats the army, and then he was taking him away. Then some of these Kaurava soldiers, they came to Yudhishthira and said, please save us, our king. He's been taken away by the Gandharvas. So then Yudhishthira tells Bhima and Arjuna to rescue Duryodhana from the clutches of Gandharvas. At that time, Bhima became very angry. He said, why should we go? He deserves it. That's the kind of thing he has done. He's our enemy, etc., etc. At that time, Yudhishthira says, no, they may be inimical to us, but they are our relatives. Whenever there is somebody else from outside, when they attack, we should all come together. We should remain together, forgetting all enmity. But Bhima was still reluctant. At that time, Yudhishthira says, okay, if you are not going, I am going. So then Bhima said, no, brother, you remain, we will go. So Arjuna and Bhima, both of them, they go, they fight with these Gandharvas, they defeat them. So it is at this time that Arjuna comes to know that this Gandharva king is none other than Chitrasena. So immediately they leave all the wars, they have good discussion, because Chitrasena is none other than the guru of Arjuna, who had taught him dance, music, etc. So thus Duryodhana was released because of the request of Yudhishthira. So that is the story here. Chitraratha, the king of Gandharvas. Chitraratha or Chitrasena. Gandharvanam Chitraratha. And the next one is Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. So this story again comes in the third canto of Bhagavatam, the greatness of Kapila Muni. Kapila Muni is an incarnation of Bhagavan himself. He was born to Kardama Prajapati and Devahuti. Kardama Prajapati, he does tapas, and Bhagavan himself appears and says that I am going to be born as your son through Devahuti, in order to revive the Vedantic philosophy, what is called as Sankhya philosophy. So thus Kapila Muni was born, and Kapila Muni gives spiritual instruction to his mother Devahuti. So that portion is beautiful. It comes in Bhagavatam about bhakti, jnana, vairagya, about different worlds. All those discussions happen there. So Kapila Muni then gives this knowledge to his mother and then leaves, and his mother attains the ultimate state of samadhi with this knowledge. Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. Siddhana means the perfect, the what you call, the sages with siddhis. Siddhis means supernatural powers. So now there are 4 types of people. Who are they? Number 1, people who don't have knowledge, and they don't have any siddhis also, supernatural powers. So that's the first category. Second category, they have knowledge but they don't have siddhis. They are enlightened ones, liberated ones, but they don't have any siddhis. Third one, there are people who have siddhis but they don't have knowledge. They have supernatural powers but they are not liberated, they are bound. And the fourth category, they have jnanam also and they have siddhi also. They are liberated ones and they have siddhi. So it is not necessary that if you gain spiritual knowledge, you must have supernatural powers. Again, it is not necessary that if you have supernatural powers, you are liberated. It is not necessary. These are all the powers of the mind which can be cultivated through intense concentration and meditation. Liberation is very different from supernatural powers. So among all the siddhas having these powers, I am Kapilo Muni. Remember, this was the same Kapila Muni who cursed the 60,000 children of Sagara, King Sagara, because of which Bhagiratha had to do tapas and then bring Ganga from the heavens. So Siddhanam Kapilo Muni. The next verse we will take in the next class. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।